Firstly, I'm very much overwhelmed by the opkomst hier vandag. I understand it's about 70, so that's the biggest number of people we've ever had in an event like this, which is fantastic for me, especially thank you to my Facebook friends. You randomly say, listen, I'm in Cape Town, I'm talking, and they're here. Thank you very much. We have an international audience here today. We have Laurie from Botswana, who I've never met, but here she is with two friends, and she specifically diverted her travel plans to South Africa to accommodate this. So I'm very touched. Wow. We also have a best-selling author here, and I believe a potential agent has a spy in our midst, so wish me luck. And we also have a vegan. So if anything, and I have a panic attack, but no, I can't bear, and it's not blue to her 18 sweat. It's not me, it's you, the vegan. Anyway, be funny. I'm here today for one reason, and one reason only: curiosity. I noticed people doing some strange things, and it bothered me that I was confused about it. And I thought, I'm going to solve this puzzle, because I couldn't let it go. So what I noticed happened: family, friends, and colleagues started bragging about making their bed. So the position would be with the flaring of the shoulders and the statement unsolicited, I make my bed in the morning. Sorry, but or you brag out now or something, because I'm very impressed. But the posture of this thing was what was interesting. So the superior knowledge that I am now a conqueror and a warrior, and the stance that says whatever's going to come out of their mouths next must at least be, this is Sparta. What they say next must, and if you're going to come on. Why are you doing this? Why are you telling me this? You never used to do this before, and I was confused. So I started making my bed. David adds research. That's for research purposes. I started making my bed to see that my gees kan vang by die mense. But you know what? I did a lot of research. So it takes about 36 seconds if you just straighten the sheets and you wipe off the dogs and the crumbs. If you do it properly, change the sheets and you put a new duvet cover on and you arrange the pillows in an excellent formation. 8 minutes, 36 seconds. Either way, some of my life I'll never have back. I don't understand what the fuss is about. So I dug a bit deeper. So I traced the origin of this spontaneous bed-making infestation across the world to this guy, General McRaven, US Army General. In 2014, he made a very famous speech at the commencement address of the University of Texas. And he stood on that podium and he told the students, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. And the words went across the universe. And people made their beds. And that man overnight became some kind of a motivational speaker and some kind of a guru and a person who can help you in your life. Not to be outdone, Jordan Peterson took it one step further and he told people, if you want to change the world, clean your room. That man wrote a book that became a bestseller, and he went from being an academic to now the self-styled, self-improvement guru, and this person who's this father figure. And he made millions, and it's fantastic and good for him. There's just one little problem. The statement is complete rubbish. There it is entirely devoid of any metaphoric value in any way that you can think of goal achievement. It is illogical. And in terms of the science of goal achievement, it has no validity. If that was not a grammatically correct statement, it would make no sense at all. But it's one of those statements that is so nonsensical that you think, well, it must be true, even if I don't understand it, because why would somebody like him talk nonsense? Well, best-selling book, Dorsha Antwerp. Now, if we can look at this statement, and why I thought, okay, this is something that now must take a bit further investigation from me, because now this conundrum is getting even more interesting to me. Let's look at the statement. So, this is the position. If you want to change the world, that's the goal, right? Is that what you want? The world. The whole world. You are now going to transform it somehow, you by yourself. If you want to change the world, is that what you want? That's fine. Or do you want a life full of love, meaning, authenticity, and the capacity to face life's ups and downs with the balls, temerity, and willpower to still find enjoyment and purpose? What do you want?
Yes.
What do you want? Either way,
changing.
it doesn't start by making your bed, okay? It doesn't have anything to do with it. Well, Einstein didn't make his bed. He was a famous slouch. So was Edison. Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, the famous Stoic philosophers, they didn't even have a bed. They slept on the floor. So did Shaka. Do you think that person first invented the wheel there, the savannas of Mesopotamia? I have planned, change world. Wait. First make savannah into whole symmetrical shape. No, they didn't. They just jumped up and got on with it. So this whole notion that neatness somehow has anything to do with creativity or productivity is nonsense, by the way. They did research at the University of Minnesota in a work environment, and they tested people with a messy environment and people with a clean environment. The people with the messy desks were consistently more productive and creative. So the message, if you were a motivational speaker, should be the opposite. If you want to change the world, don't make your bed and see if you can cope with the chaos. That's the scientific message. If you can focus through the mess and still achieve your goals, it's a much better skill for you to have. But in the hands of these clowns, it has become somehow a proxy for a false sense of achievement. The whole notion of neatness, anyway, is an artifact of the mid-19th century. Before that, people understood people with messy environments had better things to do. Mark Twain used to purposefully not clean his desk for photograph, because that's the message. I don't have to worry about this stuff doesn't bother me. Now Einstein famously said, if a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, of what then is an empty desk a sign? Indeed, of what then is a made bed a sign? Well, best-selling books, that's for sure. That's the one thing, best made beds are a sign of. So this worldwide outbursting of rambunctious bed making in the hands of your motivational speakers has now become a proxy for a false sense of achievement. I think it's a problematic position. Because what we are doing, it's another one of those, listen, you get a prize just for showing up. It's one of those ideas that appears to have value up front, but when you think about it, it becomes counterproductive. Because people are self-rewarding themselves for an achievement that isn't real. As far as I'm concerned, I have now done enough to rubbish that statement. If you want to change the rules, I'll be making your bed. Because it just doesn't make sense to me. But when people are confronted with somebody challenging a basic commandment in their religion like this, I found that there are two reactions. Either you can admit you've been made a fool of, or they double down. So it becomes this loyal protection of the godlike figure, because at least there's some virtue in being loyal to the great preacher, which is fine. I think Mark Twain also said it's easier to fool people than convince them they have been fooled. But it's fine. I'll continue. The question here is not really whether the statement is true or not. It is why do we keep falling for it? Because remember, that guy is not selling you anything without your permission here. It's not being forced down your throat. And people might go, and I'm telling you now, there's at least one person in the audience. You can put your hand up if you want to confess it. That's going, here's Vivian. Technically you're right, but they didn't mean it like that. It was the person who sort of said, well, if they didn't mean it like that, why did they say it? Yes. I put it to you that they probably did mean it like that, because like all good faith healers, they believe themselves. But even if they didn't mean it like that, they knew they could sell it to you like that because you will buy it like that. Right. So why are we buying the ticket? Why could General McRae become so famous for talking nonsense? Because it's something you want to hear. He's offering you the world for the minimum amount of input. And how delightful and attractive is that proposition? So we like that proposition. Now, McRaven, Shampies, he tried so hard, Mama. But he could basically have said anything in that speech and it would have made more sense than what he actually said. Anything. If you want to change the world, stop invading other countries and bombing the shit out of them. You said that. I didn't say that. He comes out with the equivalent of telling people to put the underpants on the right way around. That's basically what he said. And people are lapping it up, right? Now the bed, I like making fun of it because I just think it's very childish, but it could have been anything. It could have been the bed or do push-ups, it doesn't matter. I just think the bed is hilarious. The real problem with the statement is that if you want to change the world component, because post-World War II, and especially now, the last 20 years with social media, we have become very attached to our own image of our own omnipotence and this unlimited potential, and each of one have greatness inside, and each of one have excellence. It's just that little thing that's wrong, but you're great, you're excellent, you must just find that little thing, that motivational lock that will unlock you. And so we're so attached to this narcissistic view of ourselves that we love it. And that's why they can sell the ticket, because you will buy it. So this grandiosity now leads to a culture that people believe the way to be is excellent. Only greatness counts. You have to be first. You have to be the best. So these seminars and all these things and the open winterification of culture, be your best, be your best. She didn't mean it. She was just a manifestation of something I believe became very counterproductive. And I think it's a dangerous idea. It's a dangerous idea and it's unproductive. So good news and bad news. You can decide which you need. People who aren't yet their most excellent self, there's nothing wrong with you. Okay? There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing needs to be fixed. Your untapped, your unlimited potential, right now, there's nothing blocking it. You're just average. It's an ugly word, isn't it? It's a very ugly word. And I know you think, well, I have a cheek walking into MENSA and telling them they're average. But I can, with a relatively high degree of confidence, walk into any room in the world and without even looking at the people, tell them most of you are average, because maths. So here is the bell curve, you guys will know it very well. So this is a distribution in a mathematical form of various variables that expresses what humans are like. And this is very interesting, because it's not just a helpful thing to show us what people are like, it tells us what we are like as animals, because we keep on organizing ourselves into this shape, right? So what normally happens is, this is true for income, beauty, height, IQ, that you have this lovely bell shape, and excellent, these things, that if you make your bed, you can read these things. The top 2%, bottom 2%. So 2% of people ever reach that goal, of that excellence, that highest achievement. The rest of us, on the brotherhood of the boop over here, that's most of us here. Now when you look at that, the evidence seems so incontrovertible that 100% of people can't be the 2%, can they? No. But 99% of people think they are. So when you tell people, no, you're just average, it's, oh no, it's them, it's not me. No, it's you. And that's my message today. What are we going to do to deal with this fact that all we will ever be is average? Because humans, it's not an absolute value. We're always comparing ourselves to others. That's how we survive. So you will never not be average, or only the top 2% will ever be the top 2%. Let me try and explain it. Right, so IQ, the way you guys do it with a test score, you get your geniuses in the top 2, right? Yeah. Or do you have an absolute score? It's a top 2%. So whatever group it is, and there's some guideline. So here's yours. Yes, yeah, so the top 2%. Yeah. The same with beauty. If everyone's beautiful, no one's beautiful. So we reserve that spot for beauty queen for the top 2%. And we arrange ourselves. When we have Olympic at number 1, number 2, number 3, the rest don't count. When we have a government, there's one leader. If that leader gets removed, we don't change the structure to a flat structure, we put a new leader in. So that's how we are as people. Just so you know what my IQ is, it's 154. I understand it's above average, but it's not. Interestingly enough, IQ is not listed by performance achievement scientist measurements as key factor for success. They will measure things like crippling inferiority complex combined with superiority complex. So if you want your children to achieve, abuse them. I think that's where. I'm not saying you must do that, I'm just saying that's what science says. Okay, so now we're talking about average and excellence. What does it mean? So most of us will be average in some things, or will be above average in other things. So we're all somewhere. Health, authenticity, IQ, love, social connection, looks, status, money. Who in this room considers themselves super wealthy in South Africa? Surprise, surprise, no one. You're all super wealthy. The average household income for South Africans is 20,000 bucks. But we're sitting in this room thinking, no, we're middle class. No, we're not. We are all super rich compared to our country. All of us here have better living conditions, more money, better dental care, and better safety than kings of 200 years ago. But we're walking around, no, I'm middle class. It's not the way it works. And that's what the bell curve shows us. You are ever only what you are compared to other people. So, most of us again here, so greatness then, this myth of the 2%, this I can achieve this 2%, then it's a mathematical myth, or of such a high improbability that I'm questioning here today whether it's worth it to go after at all. So it's like buying a lotto ticket. When you take this approach of the 2%, buying a lotto ticket is valid. Did it last week? Okay. Now, is it true that people win the lotto? Yes, it is. So this guy here is a Cape Verde, won 86 million in the lotto. It is true. People do win the lotto every day. Is it true that in order to win the lotto, you have to buy a ticket?
Yes.
Yes, it is true. Now, if I tell you the secret to financial success is to buy a lotto ticket, am I talking cat or am I talking cat? The odds of winning the lotto is about 1 in 20 million, which are relatively simple odds, because you only have to do 5 numbers in a row. It's a relatively simple thing to crack, compared to the complexity of being human and getting the top spot and the top 2% in any endeavor in life, because we have so many variables and it's always measured against other people who try just as hard as you do. So it doesn't matter how you try, so is everybody else, okay? And this image of us as this excellent person, as this great person with unlimited potential, at some stage it became a cop-out, I believe, because isn't it nice to have this halo of your potential, of what you could possibly be. And you're walking around now, I'm great, I must just take some, I must just fix it. It becomes a cop-out and an excuse, I believe, because you're always living in your own shadow. You're living in the shadow of the you that is not real. And you'll get so blinded by the light shining out of the arse of your future self that you won't be able to see where you are now. And that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest issue with motivational speakers. The message becomes totally unproductive, because when they keep you aiming for here, you think that's the only way that counts, and you forget about what's here. People become perfectionists. Are you a perfectionist? Yes. Yes. Or is it just procrastination masquerading as quality control? You're not a perfectionist, you just don't know how to hit the send button and handle rejection. So that's what's not happening. When the only thing you will ever participate in is something you'll be good at. So I believe it limits your options. And that's why I am asking for another approach. So you can do it. If you want to be excellent, you can do it. I'm asking people to have the courage to be average. Because it's easy, isn't it? To be passionate and find that thing you love, and it pushes and it pulls you. It's not easy when you're average. It's not easy when you try your hardest and you still only achieve so little. But that's where the true skill is. That's where the true guts lies, in being average. To face life as it is now, and the possibility that it will never change because less. That's courage. Now, I'm not saying the philosophy of dismotivational speaking or the philosophy of averageness is better. I'm just saying it's an alternative. And since there are many more of us than the 2%, I believe it's demographically valid. So consider that as an option. Do not strive for excellence. Do not give up because you're not good. Listen, aim for mediocrity and make it. You can do it, I promise you. Look, so what it takes for me now, this embracement of the courage and to let go of that image of myself as this unlimited potential being, it's very embarrassing, it's very uncomfortable, but it's still worth it. So I'm going to tell you a story of what happened to me to put this thing into perspective. So as part of going away slowly, we climbed Kilimanjaro. Now at the time, look, mountains are important for speeches and prophets and stuff because they have this symbolic meaning. At the time, it was one of the most toughest physical challenges I've ever had, and it was important for me to do well because I had this thing. And I was very fit, and in my mind, I was at least Tarzan. One, 2 steps short of Chuck Norris, but at least just like in fact, on day 2 and 3, I couldn't breathe. That's what I'm going to do. So what they do, you take 6 days because of the altitude. It's a 6-day trip, 5 days up and 1 down. But on day 2 or 3, I'm going to have to give up. I can't give up. So too many times in my life I've given up. So what if I die here? At least I haven't given up. And you start thinking these things. And on day 4, somebody on another trip, they take you up in groups, died. And they carry the corpse down during the night. I can't breathe, the people dying. And on day 5, now we're nearing the summit, one of our crew collapses and he has to get oxygen. I have to give up. What? But I didn't give up. So on that final day, and the sun rises over Africa, and you literally watch that thing, I'm getting goosebumps even now thinking about it. You watch that sun rise over Mount Mira and it rises over the whole continent. And I decided about what I'm going for. So I ran to the end. So I went from almost giving up to running to the end and ending first in my book. Now, if I was a motivational speaker, that's the story I would tell you. Everything I just told you is true. But now I'm going to tell you the nuance and the point I'm making as a dismotivational speaker. So everything I told you is true. Fine. So it was important for me to do well because there was a ietsiekie in die groep net tussen, I was only women. So there was no ou dingetjie daar. And the men of the Vivian, this is not a competition, so it's not. No. So it's not a competition, but after every day, the men would come back to the camp. Yes, sir, I've been here for 40 minutes already, Vivian. I'm being here now. So it's not a competition. At the same time, truly, there's only one day where it counts to be first, isn't it? And that's summer day. Nou, so now is het nie 'n moeilike competisie nie. So nou, al die goed gebeur en mense gaan do it. Anyway, so now, okay, now it's not a competition, we're all summiting at the same time, okay? Yes, fine. Here we go. And as the sun rises, now turn around, because we're supposed to do it together. Turn around, who's this one guy? He starts going. I knew it was a competition. It was like, nee, dat is it. Ek sit my rugsak neer, en nog so 2 slukkies Red Bull, and I start running. Please, if you ever at the top of Kilimanjaro, don't run. Because you will die, I swear to God. I promise you now, if that summit was 2 meters further, I would have died. So now going, and there's no altitude, so it's like on the moon. But I'm running. And as I go past this guy's face, he says, and I go, anyway, I run. I nearly die. So I couldn't even look into the camera. I was like, and you sit there all shaken, literally an inch of your death. But you did what you wanted to. So, yeah. So now I make a mood of a thing. The men are not impressed at all. Very childish. And I go as far as I can, I point it out to people around the campfire. You know, I was first. And then the camera guy says to me, Vivian, I just want to check something. If you were first, but I took the shot of you being first, who was really first? It's a Cameron. You don't count Cameron. Anyway, the lesson here is, what is the difference? What's the value really of becoming first? And if you take a story and you pitch it differently, it could have a completely different meaning. So we could have gone, let's say everything worked out fine. Woman overcomes near-death experience and runs to the top to be the first in the group. That could have been the story. If I did succumb to my heart attack, it would have said, stupid fool, I have myself up a bad. So the story and the narrative we tell ourselves is very important. So be very cautious when all you want to ever do is congratulate yourself for a great job. Now, that story bothered me because it had such strong emotions for me, but I knew it was important to get. So now I do all the, so other people, celebrities who have done it, they come back, of course, and they tell the first story. Just like in Patricia Lewis, hail, in Nathaniel, hail, and hulle would leave. So I tell my story, but I asked the magazine, asked me to write about it. I want to interview other mountaineers and a geologist. So now the mountaineer is interesting because the guy does it. So it's that normal. Jana, I did Kilimanjaro. Jana, you too. How long did you take? We took 6 days up and down. He goes, oh yeah, 8 hours. Excuse me. 8 hours. They run it up and down in 1 day as a practice for other mountains. Bit of a show off. Anyway, why moes a show? So then it gives you a perspective. So what for you, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody who climbs Kili, especially not anything away from me, clearly. But 30,000 people do it every year. So this concept where you want to be so special and so unique, just think, what does it mean? I'm not saying what it must mean for you, I'm just asking. I speak to the geologist, and the man front of me, I don't understand this. Why did you want to get to the top? Because I'm not showing off. Is it because that's the point of a mountain? It's not for me. I think it's ridiculous that you guys rush to the top. If I had 6 days on Mount Kili, I'd go in the middle of the mountain because there are better stones there. He said, yes, but of course you're saying that. I said to the man, because you're middle-aged and you have a book. He was drinking a castle like it. You're saying that because you know you can't get to the top. He says, no, you don't understand. Where we're standing now, and at the time we're in the Franschhoek Mountains, where we're standing now is in the Cape Fold Sandstone Formation. And that man took me on a journey into deep time. And he explained to me that where I was standing right there, 160 million years ago, with the split of Gondwana land, if I was there in a time machine, to my left, we would have split with South America to the left. And to the right, Africa and Antarctica and Madagascar was split to the right. And that stone was holding in his hand, was probably right there. And I said to him, meneer, jy's reg, daar is 'n lekker klippie hoor. So now, you understand the capacity to travel in deep time and your chase to be first, or the best, or the excellent, potentially robs you from a lot of other things you could be experiencing in life. So if you want to be the best, go for it, but there is a difference. Now look, you must win, it's lovely, and to show it and to stick it to the man and to win and to be competitive and the chest beating, it's lovely. It feels nice, it's instinctive, we can't help it, we are competitive natures, so do it. And it's important to do it because fuck them, that's why. It's okay in life to have a little fuck you list, just to stick it to people. You go, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, tick, tick, tick. But don't take the list or yourself too seriously. And I think that's what Roger Kipling was trying to say, but he just couldn't find the words. Okay. So when I say essentially I want you to be average. It's not a passive state, it's not a state of surrender. It is active, it's just a state where you have more realistic goals. Okay? So it's not pretty, you do engage, you do things with understanding active discomfort. So you must be able to embrace active and continuous discomfort in your life. There's no kumbaya in the background. It's always bloody uncomfortable. It's still worth it. How to achieve being average? Firstly, lower your expectations. Okay. By expecting, and it's not, look, it's probably funnier than it should be, but by expecting less of yourself, you'll get more out of life. So remove this expectation as the only place that has value for you and embrace all of this. You have more chances of getting value out of life. Instead of saying, is this the best I can be? Ask yourself, is it worth it? Now, worth it is a very different mathematical question than excellence. Is it worth it? What's the payoff for you? And if you decide it's worth it, just to smell the roses, then it's worth it. But take away the compulsion that only excellence, first and best, is worth it. So replace words like excellence and greatness with awe and curiosity. Instead of going, oh no, I am not the winner. Look what a disaster my life is. It's probably true. I'm a loser, my life is a disaster. No, how fascinating. After 5 billion years of evolution, my life turned out exactly this way. Be fascinated with whatever your state is. Awe and curiosity, not achievement. Try that. Forget about passion and motivation. Who has that stuff? No, not me. And I can tell you, most people are like me. Passion and motivation are gifts. They are gems. Show up despite that. That's how to be average. Would have, could have, should have gets replaced with fascination. Then, instead of focusing on goals, focus on outputs. Like me, who still hasn't written that book 10 years later. Instead of saying, I will write the book, say, I will write for 1 hour in the morning. Concentrate on output, not what the end goal is. Now this to me has brought about a profound change in my perspective, because I'm now more active, because being average means you have the courage to fail. If everything is excellence, you'll fail all the time. When you're average, it doesn't matter if you fail. You're not as self-conscious about it. So I'm a loser, no, but it doesn't bother you as much. So being average gives you the courage to do more things. So it encourages you to embrace variety as opposed to balance. Just do more things. It doesn't matter how you do them. If you can't travel, separate yourself from street level. Sit on the roof. Stare at the stars. Imagine yourself traveling back in time like that man on the mountain did for me, and imagine your place in the universe in deep time. That's how you're average. By separating yourself, and you become detached, and you like traveling in deep time. That's how you become average. Now I'm going to tell you a story, a perfect example of how to be average with enthusiasm. So I started doing jiu-jitsu when I was 52, and I thought, this thing is combative, so it suits me. It's like physical. This is the one thing in my life I'm going to do right. From the beginning, I'm going to do everything right. I'm going to show up for all the classes, I'm going to get fit. Yes, I read books, YouTube videos, and I was that one. And I did everything right. And guess what? Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I just don't have that raw talent that other people have. I mean, I'm a person who struggled to learn how to drive a car. I couldn't understand how your one leg can do something. There's an arm, sorry. How your one arm can do something different to the other arm, and there's 4 arms, and they must all do it at the same time, at speed. I struggle. Now, jiu-jitsu is like driving a car, but the car fights back. It's very, very complicated. My professor told me, Vivian, I don't know what you do. I tried to explain to somebody the other day what you did, but it's impossible. I don't know. I don't feel. And yet it is also the only thing in my life that I persisted with despite that I'm terrible. And that is the value. And is it fun? No, it's terrible. Because you keep losing all the time and you don't get anywhere, or the progress is so slow, it's frustrating. But it's engagement, it's intensity, it's physical exercise, and you're faced to confront yourself on the mat in a way that you will not find anywhere else, and there's a remember. So it's worth it. So am I passionate about it and I will never give up? No. It's really rather frustrating, and the moments of achievement are so small. But I'm a purple belt now, so you do progress, but so does anyone else. So that's a problem. But do I try my hardest? Also no, not really. Sometimes I would try a bit harder than other times, but not always. And yet, despite that, it's still worth it. Every now and again, I do something so remarkable, I stun myself. So I will tap a brown belt, or I'll take down a black belt. And people go, "How did you do that?" I say, "I don't know. I did it to you. Didn't you take notes?" So your moments of achievement and joy are so ephemeral, but still worth it. Do things, even if you're bad. And I can tell you now, I will never be good at this. Whatever it takes, I don't have it. I will not stop because the struggle is worth it, and that is the value. But if I gave up when I realized I could never be good, it would have been the worst outcome for me. I had a feedback after my last presentation. A guy did exactly this, you guys will know, with guitar lessons. And he said, I realize now what I did wrong with my guitar lessons. I gave up because I realized I would never be great. But now, after listening to you, I realized I can be bad at it and still find value in it. I said, that's exactly it. Now he's doing it again. Look, he's terrible. But he's doing it, and it's still worth it for me. So my jiu-jitsu journey is basically a summary of how I see life as a human. Mostly shit, largely embarrassing, still worth it. And here's the trick now, my jiu-jitsu lesson, and the thing that should be taking notes for. If you're average, you have to hustle, right? So you don't have to be excellent in life to be effective, right? You don't have to be excellent in life to be effective. You have to be just good enough to be unpredictable. Then people never know what's coming next. So now when people face me on the jiu-jitsu mat, they got to ask themselves, do I feel lucky? Do you? That's it. I mean, when you want to be average, you have to hustle. Okay. So the life of an average person is to hustle. Now, up until now, and I think there might be one or two of you thinking, this woman has just come up with a fantastic rationalization for how she came to be middle-aged and a bit of a loser. Okay, fine. So let us say that's all there is to this. Let's say that's all there is. Look, obviously I believe there's something more. But let's say that's all there is to it. My only play here today is to say it's a valid rationalization. It is at least as valid as the rationalization that you're a being of unlimited potential that still you have locked. And that my message has more demographic value. Yes. That's the only play I'm making today. But let's look at the science now. Let's step away from me. Let's look at the science. I'm going to tell you a story about Johnny Wilkinson. Oh. Now, you guys remember him, 2002 Rugby World Cup. I think if a god ever walked the earth in a physical form, it was that guy. He had movie star looks. It was a Rugby World Cup final, and there was 1 point between England and the winning thing. And in this last minute, he kicked that thing, and it was perfect. You cannot script this stuff, and that guy did it. Now, what happened to Johnny, and he describes it, that happened almost immediately as a ball left his feet. He fell into an extraordinary depression. He couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. What's wrong with Johnny? Nothing. We are made like that. What happens to humans, even super athletes, when you experience such an extreme high, and that's a result of your neurochemicals in your brain, nothing to do with willpower, depression, or anything, you have a supply of dopamine in your brain, and when there's an extraordinary release of it, you will feel depressed, you'll feel hopeless, because dopamine is not the happiness drug, it's not the reward drug, but it is rewarding. Dopamine is the drug that gives you forward-moving energy and desire. Or we feel it as a feeling of hope. That's how we experience the chemical. If you take it away, you feel hopeless. And to a human, that's the worst thing you can feel. But dopamine is so powerful that they can use it for pain management. So people with open wounds or car accidents, sometimes they take the dopamine from your system and the pain disappears. But that feeling of forlornness is so severe that people tell the doctor after 2 hours, put the pain back. Humans can't handle that feeling of hopelessness or that forward, the thriving mode. So that's what happened to Johnny. We were made that way, by the way. It's not an imbalance, we just can't handle that much. That's why rock stars commit suicide early, because there's this onslaught of this daily dopamine rush and there's extreme serotonin levels that you can't sustain it. You will commit suicide or you will just die from overload. Similar thing happened to us on Kilimanjaro. That the moment I ran to the top and survived, it was just this emptiness. And another guy in our group as well. You just couldn't talk to people because you live life with such an intensity for 6 weeks. And this guy hadn't even been to Pretoria yet, right? He's been in Joburg his own life. So now you chase him through Africa for 6 weeks, chase him up a mountain, and you take it away. So on Windhoek Airport, both of us couldn't cope with the absence of that intensity and that drive. And I sat in one corner, he sat in another corner, and the second corner. Can't go forward, can't go back. You couldn't speak to people for 3 months. And your experience of it is, it's the darkness of the mountain. Nope, you were made like this, it's open. So this is a common occurrence with guys like Ernest Hemingway, and they people achieve massive things, and this great book, then he can't write for 3 months. He literally feels he has no capacity to write anymore, and it's just a chemical imbalance, not imbalance, sorry, a disruption, and that's how we work. Now, dopamine is about pursuit, not achievement. Very important. Pursuit is not the same as getting there. Dopamine keeps on driving us. It is a function of evolution. If we ever had a chemical or a state where we feel we've achieved something, we would stop trying. This is why it is impossible, chemically, for you to ever be truly and sustainably happy. We don't have a place in our brains for happiness and a continued state of excellence or achievement. Pursuit, not achievement. Desire, not success. You are bound by neurochemistry to always want something else. And that's a function of our evolution. And you can't outwill it, you can't outmotivate it, and you can't make up your bed. So this pursuit of happiness is an illusion. I know it sounds terrible, and I'm surprised people haven't started crying because you don't understand. You can't. This place that you're looking for, it is not there. It is not there. It is literally like looking for a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. It is not there. The search for the Holy Grail, the important part there is the search. There is no Holy Grail. And if there is, probably not for you, because we're average. Unless one of you probably might have 2%, but I'm not going to ask you to put their hands up. Now there's another thing now, dopamine, and that is the lesson of Sisyphus and what guys like Robert Sapolsky taught us. Dopamine is not about the pursuit of happiness, it's about the happiness of pursuit. It's such an important distinction, it's such a big twist for you. But don't be unhappy if you're unhappy. That's how we make it. That's how we progress as a species. And that's why we do better than the other primates, because we have this dopamine sorted. Now, the other experts do it. Now, these are the people who really know how to use dopamine, not like buffoons who tell you about household tasks and stuff like that. So, dopamine, all of us have it, but it works on a circadian rhythm, right? So, we have a certain amount available to us every 24 hours, and it resets as you sleep. So your best space, if you want to achieve, if you want to get goals, is to keep the dopamine a bit level, because every time it spikes, it will come down again. And then you have these massive experiences of depression. So, and your rock stars, when rock stars die by the time they're 28, because you can't sustain it. So the guys who are good at stimulating dopamine, your athletes, your top-selling writers, your performers, ice baths are great, by the way. they will keep your dopamine spiked for 6 times longer than cocaine, and it's also much more effective than cocaine. But then what you do, now this is terrible, you go to literally close to death, but then what you do, after the ice bath, you go and do the thing that you want to do. So if you're a writer, you get out of that thing and you write, because that dopamine is going to run out. You're very focused, and these people do it in a very scientific manner. The circadian rhythms, you have to stick to that. What releases dopamine also is self-reward. So the patting on your back, hey, I'm great, I did that thing. They don't do it. So your Iron Maidens, those guys, the rock stars that have survived, they've learned this lesson, the self-reward. And that's the biggest problem with statements like Raven and Peterson, is the self-congratulation. Because every time you do that, you're rewarding yourself, you're convincing yourself you've achieved something. Your dopamine goes down. So these guys are so good at delaying self-reward that they almost never acknowledge success. And they never acknowledge it for a first step of everything. So he will have his rock concert, salad concert. He doesn't sniff the panties, he doesn't collect all the fans. He gets off, he says thanks to the security guard. He puts some cans in the recycling thing and he goes home to his family and says, I'm sorry I'm late. But that massive release, and wow, you don't do it because it becomes counterproductive. You will have tricked your brain into thinking it's achieved something and it hasn't. You don't reward yourself, what we know dopamine, early in the morning because your brain will think you've done something. So the last thing you do is what our motivational speakers have told us. First thing in the morning, you pat yourself on the back for achieving absolutely nothing at all. It is completely the least scientific way of motivating yourself. Bed making is not necessary. You avoid rewarding first steps. So your best-selling authors are very clear about this. They say, I don't reward the first step. I don't reward the first chapter. At step 1000, I start allowing myself in private to think, I'm actually doing this, but they won't admit it. So they enter competitions, and this guy, the people really know what they're doing. Didn't you enter a competition 3 months ago? Yes. So what happened? Oh no, I won. Pass the carrots. You don't allow that self-reward because it will rob you of them. Bed making is not important unless you do it like this guy. John Kai Fang, the fastest time to make in bed is 1 minute 9 seconds. If you have now a bed making thing, listen, I'm not saying make the bed or don't make it. Just don't. It's just really of nothing, no significant. Except when you do it like this. Now he set the record. He's cool. So now, just to throw us off a little bit, because this is a very vast and complicated topic, but I just want us to shift away from this concept of I myself am in charge of my future and I have this unlimited potential and I get it by myself. So now see neurochemicals play a role, logic, bizarrely enough, plays a role, and luck and chaos. And what else is in charge of our behavior and patterns now that we are the masters of our universe? Our subconscious. Now most of us believe we are in charge, but right now behind us there is a massive stack of subconscious behaviors that you're not even aware of. And it's sitting behind you right now, it has you by your shoulders, and you're not aware of it. That's why it's called subconscious. But it will take you, and you think you're going there. I never made that decision because it's subconscious. So the illusion that we are in charge of our futures is something that we must keep in mind when we set these lofty goals. Because a lot of what we do, we have no control over it. And your subconscious often does things to protect you because it takes you out of the way of something harmful. But it treats it with an addiction, which later on becomes more harmful. And you have no control over it. Your subconscious will just move you around, and maybe it helps you, sometimes it doesn't, it sometimes just goes, wah! You wake up 10 years later and you don't know what it is. But you are not in charge. Now, a guy like Robert Sapolsky will tell you we have no free will. And that's a devastating concept, especially for a motivational speaker. It tells you you have a free will and you can manipulate that thing into doing what you want. I want us to consider that we don't have a free will. And once you've staggered backwards for 2 weeks, you start thinking, well, what does it mean for me with this image of myself as this potential superhero? And then you start crying. Because it's very depressing, isn't it? That nothing we do is actually us. We have no idea why we do things mostly, all of the time. And once you can grapple with that thing, and you can still breathe, now you can start learning. Because now you're free from a false expectation. That's what happened to me. So the truth is, if you can dream it, you can't just do it. It doesn't work like that. Just think it and you can achieve it? Absolutely not. There are too many things, factors, influencing that. And I'm going to end with another metaphor which I think is more apt. And how it freed me. How it freed me understanding this. Because you're not depressed enough. I don't think you've been concentrating. You should not be happy at this stage of what I've told you about free will. So let's talk about the light at the end of the tunnel. So I have good news and bad news, okay? Okay. You can decide which is which. The light at the end of the tunnel is not an oncoming train, but it is an Angela Escort. No, I'm just kidding. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, there isn't a light. And if there is a light, it's probably not for you. Now that is the truth about the light at the end of the tunnel. My contention, after everything that I have discovered in solving this problem of the bed making, is that the light at the end of a tunnel is a refraction of the ambient light in the tunnel. And the only light in the tunnel you need is the light you need to light up the tunnel itself so you can see where you're going. So this light, and this beautiful thing, these 2%ers, the knights of the light, the people on the white horses that chase the light, it is a refraction like the colors of a rainbow. We can see a rainbow, but we can see it. But is it real? No. Is it pretty and we want to go there? Yes. Is it worthwhile spending your life chasing the rainbow? That's up to you to decide. From my side, I am a tunnel dweller. I live in the tunnel. And I know the guys on the white knights, I know I have some friends like that. I'm just going to, okay, it's not here. So, he's also now the guy, by the way, the knight of the light. I am excellent. No, I am. Well, you're not. But anyway, so he's also the guy that was making his bed. So, excuse me, I know for a fact your maid made your bed. Well, what does it matter? The bed's made. So no, with respect, it does actually make a difference. If the bed is made but you didn't make it, is it still made? I ask you that. Anyway, so he's not this guy who's always so perfect and he's so excellent. But not now. Not now. But one day. Because for them it's uncomfortable walking around in the mud. Because there's no stories on it and slime on the walls. But to me, as an experienced tunnel dweller, I go, oh, slime. Check the slime. Check it. You see this? In my hand, in the slime, there are stromatolites. 45 million years ago, these are the earliest deposits of life. And you can touch it. You can look at it. Check the slime. Check, it also like a clipping. There's it. Take it like a clipping. So life in the tunnel means that you accept that the tunnel is all you have. And you cope with it. Because if you only look at the light, how are you going to cope with the tunnel? If all you're ever looking at is the light, you can look at the light every now and again, because it's fine, but it's not real. And the people who are chasing the light, of course, they chase through the tunnel because they are very important. And they're going to find the light. And I've stopped being cowering down to the knights of the light. They can chase that light on their beautiful white horse, while terwyl ek hier so op my voete deur die tunnel rondloop. I can tell you one thing, I'm not standing back for you anymore. If you want to chase that light at the end of the tunnel, then you can turn my spring as you're so special. I'm not going back, you're like jammer, we're the average. Stand your ground. Be your average. And it's despite the point whether you're best or not, you've seen that, because these comparisons become fruitless. It keeps you from being productive. I will not chase the light. I'm busying myself with understanding the tunnel and being fascinated with the tunnel. And that is my message. If you can cope, if anything you take away from this motivation and life of being average is, do you have what it takes to survive and thrive in the tunnel? Because if you don't, you have some work to do. That's my message. Sorry, it's a bit depressing, but for somebody to tell you, it might as well be me. Okay. Now people say, two more thoughts. Now people say, no, you're very, because I always catch up, you know. You're very, what if you became a rich and famous, this motivational speaker? What will you say then? Well, the first thing I'll say is, I didn't get you by making my bed. But you can read all about it in my best-selling books, 101 Tips for Tunnel Dwellers, 101 Tips for Tunnel Dwelling for Beginners. Okay, really could be good. And that's my story today. It started with a question and curiosity. And this is where it led. It started with a question that I answered. That's the only reason I'm here today. I had a question, it bothered me that I couldn't solve it. It took me a few years, a significant amount of time and money, but I believe I've solved the puzzle. That's all. It's nothing. It's everything. I've solved the puzzle. Worth it. Thank you.